A humanoid robot walks out onto the Computex stage in Taipei last week. Qualcomm's demo, it stops next to the executive presenting, waits, then folds backwards and faceplants on the concrete like it got shot. 3 stagehands sprint out from the wings. They already have a satin cloth in their hands, folded to size. They cover the robot, they carry it off. Halfway out the door, they drop it. Qualcomm's flagship humanoid demo, one of the biggest bets in tech right now, just died on live camera at Computex 2026. I'm Stewart. If you watched this clip and thought it looked staged, you were half right. The fool is real. The confidence around it is the fake. The robot is called the 4NE1 Gen 3.5, built by a German company called Neura Robotics. Qualcomm supplies the brain. It runs on a chip package called Dragonwing IQ10 that does 700 trillion operations a second directly on the robot itself. No cloud, no lag. 18 processor cores, 12 cameras, LiDAR sensors, the works. 5'9", carries 220 pounds, runs 6 to 8 hours on a battery. On paper, it is one of the most capable humanoids anyone has built. Qualcomm's official explanation was a communication glitch during the demo. They also said the robot executed its built-in safe collapse sequence, which they described as lowering itself to its knees to protect people and surroundings. Watch the video. It does not lower itself to its knees. It falls face first. There is a difference between kneeling and falling. Even I know that. After the fall, one of the robot's hands briefly raised into a fist. Some viewers thought it was reaching for help. It could not stand up. The stagehands came in. Here is the part almost nobody is putting together. Not the tech press, not the reaction channels. It's the second humanoid robot to publicly faceplant on live camera in 12 months. The first one was called AIdol, from a Russian vendor, at a Moscow tech forum earlier this year. Same shape. Same fall, same rush to cover it up. 2 humanoids, 2 continents, 2 different vendors, less than a year apart, not one bad day. A pattern. And every humanoid vendor pitching a warehouse deal, a hospital deal, a hotel deal right now is inside that pattern, whether they say it or not. The vendors know it. Everyone selling into the space knows it. The only person who is not supposed to know it is the buyer being asked to write the check. Here is the answer to the only question that matters, and I will say it before the ad. Any humanoid vendor making a bold claim in 2026 has close to 0 chance of running an unsupervised 8-hour shift in a real building. Everything else is theatre. Before I show you how to spot the theatre in 5 minutes, one thing. I run a free school community called the Church of SEO Jesus. Inside are the playbooks and checklists from every video on this channel, including the humanoid vendor filter coming up next. Link below. It is free. Watch the stagehands in that clip, not the robot. There are 3 of them. They come running out the second the robot goes down. One of them is already holding a satin cloth folded to exactly the right size to drape over the machine. The cloth did not appear from nowhere. Someone in production owned the cloth. Someone in production had it folded and ready. Someone in production knew there was a real chance the robot was going to need to be hidden from the audience before the presentation was over. Here is the filter. 5 questions. Google is enough for 4 of them. If a vendor, or a news story about a vendor, or a LinkedIn brag from a company running a pilot cannot answer any of these cleanly, that vendor is selling the demo. You do not need to know anything about robotics. You just need the questions. Question 1. Name one paying customer running one of these robots right now, unsupervised, for a full shift without the vendor's engineers in the building. Specific company, specific site, specific dates. Google the company. If the only hits are the vendor's own press release and a booth demo video, that is not a working product. It is a supervised toddler in a metal suit. Anyone can look impressive for 10 minutes. A working robot is one that shows up on Monday and clocks out on Friday. Question 2. What is the mean time between assists? Every warehouse and hospital that runs any kind of automation tracks this number. It is the average minutes of work the machine does before a human has to walk over and help it. Real operators publish it. If a humanoid vendor has never said theirs out loud, they have not been running long enough to have one. If they refuse to say it when pressed, the number is embarrassing. Either way, you have your answer. Question 3. What do you call it when the robot falls? A vendor who calls a faceplant a safe collapse sequence is training the market to accept failure as a feature. Find where they have published the fall rate per 100 hours of operation. Real operators track this like an airline tracks near misses. A vendor who has never published a number has never audited their own failures. Still with me? 2 more questions. The last one is the one every vendor hates. Question 4. Where are 30 days of uptime logs from a paying customer? Not a case study, not a testimonial video, not a slide deck, logs. A working piece of industrial equipment produces a data trail every second it is switched on. If none exist anywhere, not in a customer blog post, not in an investor deck, not in a vendor white paper, the machine has not been running in the real world, it has been running in demos. Question 5. What does the annual support contract cost compared to the robot? On mature industrial equipment, support runs 10 to 15% of the hardware price per year. On unfinished equipment dressed up as mature, support is often more than the machine itself, because the vendor knows they will be flying engineers to the site every week for the first year. If the support contract is bigger than the sticker price is a marketing number to get somebody signed. The real price is the support. Old way, you looked at the spec sheet, payload, runtime, height, tops, sensors, brochures, win sales pitches with those. New way, you look at what happens when the Wi-Fi hiccups, because that is exactly what happened in Taipei. A communication glitch inside a controlled demo, with the vendor's own engineers in the front row, brought down 700 trillion operations a second of on-device compute. In a real warehouse, on a real floor, with real Wi-Fi, the failure mode is not going to be more graceful. Here is what makes this a mass story and not a robot story. The humanoid pitch has already moved past tech conferences. It is in warehouses, it is in hospitals, it is in hotels and airports and restaurants. Some of those places are where you work. Some are companies you own shares in through your pension. Some are companies pitching your city council for tax breaks tomorrow. When one of these pilots collapses on the local news, everyone who signed off on it looks like the person who did not ask the 5 questions. 2 humanoid robots have gone down on camera in the last 12 months. Neura in Taipei last week, AIdol in Moscow before that. Both vendors survived because the internet moved on to the next story inside 48 hours. The next collapse is not going to be at a booth. It is going to be in a hospital corridor or a warehouse aisle, and it is going to be filmed on a phone by someone who works there. The video will end that vendor. Anyone whose signature is on the contract will have that video follow their name around Google for the rest of their career. Open Reddit right now, go to r/singularity, search Qualcomm robot dies mid-presentation. Watch the clip, watch the stagehands, notice they are already carrying the cloth as they come out. The cloth is the honest part of the demo. Every vendor knows there is a chance the robot will fall. The stagehand with a cloth is the internal admission. Do not let anyone tell you the fall was a one-off. The cloth was pre-positioned. That is the proof, not me telling you. You are going to see humanoid claims everywhere for the next 12 months. On LinkedIn, in your newsfeed, in your employer's town hall slides, in the portfolio letter from your pension fund, in the press release from the local council announcing a public-private pilot. Now you know the filter. Any vendor whose paying customers cannot be found, whose uptime logs do not exist, whose full rate is a marketing phrase, that is the pattern in the video you just watched. Google is enough to catch most of it. One more thing before you go. The Church of SEO Jesus is my free school community. The 5-question vendor filter I just walked you through is inside as a printable 1-page checklist alongside the playbooks and workflows from every video on this channel. Grab it before the next humanoid pitch lands in your feed. Link in the description, it is free. Next up on this channel, I am running the actual humanoid vendors through the same filter. Which ones have paying customers today, which are still doing keynote demos, and one quiet name nobody is talking about that has 30-day uptime logs on the wall. Link on the end screen in a moment. Watch it before the next humanoid story lands in your feed, or before your next pension statement, because the funds are pouring money into these vendors right now, and the returns depend on the pilots not folding backwards on camera.